When it comes to Star Wars, whenever there's a lot of fans waiting for that next thing that you're going to create, there's always that pressure of not wanting to let them down. There was quite a bit on this film that was a challenge from both a technical standpoint and conceptually. How are we going to make this something that people are going to remember and love?
We were making a sequel essentially to Return of the Jedi, and we were 30 years off of the last movie. And what does that mean? It doesn't mean that we're seeing all new things. Does it mean that we are really watching a Star Wars movie with all those things that we know and love? Specifically as an art director, I think our first and foremost job is to visualize the story that the director or the writer is trying to tell. And MODO is a great storytelling tool. So in MODO, what I did specifically was, if we had a Star Destroyer, start that as a basis for a Star Destroyer, but then also start to trickle in and kit bash pieces from, just grab a bit of a tank and put it on the side, much like the guys, 35, 40 years ago did.
I think the Falcon chase was one of those things that it was very challenging in the sense that we had to fill up that entire world. Every shot was sort of iconic. So every time you cut to a new version or a new angle and you were looking at the Falcon, what were you looking at in the background and how can we make it memorable? One thing about Star Wars assets and vehicles is they look dirty. That's one thing that we've all come to kind of know and love. And being able to paint that dirt onto the Falcon in such a way that we could layer it and through a shader where it's actually going to look the same to the guy who's painting it, working in Mari, to the guy who's actually lighting the shot in Katana, and being able to look at it in a way that is really representative of how it will look in the shot is a huge benefit. We'd heard the narrative that, of course, there are a lot of practical effects in The Force Awakens, to the point where people felt maybe that there weren't that many visual effects, but of course there were. BB-8 is an interesting example of a character that was created really to be physical and real and to be there on set, and they made several different versions that the actors could interact with. And we had, a great reference to go from so that he felt like a one-to-one match to what they had on set. We had a request late at night. JJ had decided in editorial that he wanted to flop a shot with BB-8 in it. And it was just a simple shot of BB-8 exiting frame. And it seemed like it was going to be no big deal. And we thought, well, all we have to do is paint his rig out and everything will be fine. Unfortunately, we realized BB-8 is asymmetrical and you'd notice if his head wasn't going the right direction. So we needed to change his head. Unfortunately, we hadn't planned on doing a digital BB-8 in this case. But because we had a bunch of lighting templates set up for BB-8 in Katana, we were able to put him in there and throw some lights in there and make him look amazingly real in just a matter of probably hours. One thing we know we're going to get in Star Wars is we're going to get a lot of blaster fire. We, of course, have animation that puts in blasters because they have to do specific things in the shots, and then we have our effects TDs who render even more blasters. But in having to do multiple iterations of those things, you don't want to have to go back in the pipeline process. So we developed this technique of actually rendering all of those blasters on cards and giving ultimate control to the compositors in NUKE. And that was really key and instrumental in being able to move those shots further, faster, because we were able to control that on the compositor end rather than having to take it all the way back to the beginning of our process. The opportunity to work on Star Wars is really a dream come true.
It's surreal to say the least. I can honestly say the reason why I work in the film industry is because of Star Wars.
People say, when you were a kid, did you ever think you were going to do this? And I say, I didn't even know people did this.